为自法为境界同生，经中万妙法轮教导我们如何了生活自离苦和速生不生。The symbolic reversion of the compassion for the safety, certainty, and holy things. Instantly wonderful Dharma to teach us how to make suffering and the countries and center and quickly realize number.
Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Homage to the blessed, noble, and perfectly enlightened one.
Namo saranto suchetoye alahadi samyao samputoshe. 无上甚深微妙法，百千万劫难遭遇。我今见闻得受持，愿解如来真实义。Supreme and wondrous Dharma, subtle and profound, rarely is encountered even in billions of eons. But now we see and hear it and accept it reverently. May we truly understand the Buddha's actual meaning. 阿弥陀佛，师父上人，各位师兄，大家阿弥陀佛。Venerable Master, Dhamma friends, hey, welcome again. Seems like we were just here like 24 hours ago and we're back. It's been a week. Delighted that you're here with me. We're going to move through our protocol and then say hello to everyone. The protocol includes inviting the Buddhas, the Bodhisattvas of the Flower Garland Assembly, the gods and the dragons, and the Eightfold Pantheon to all draw near. If they are willing to do that, to bless all of us, everyone here. So let's put our palms together and chant in Chinese. Here we go. Namo Tassa I wait for Sa Yes, furthermore, we would like to respectfully acknowledge the Kombu people. Let's see here. Oh, good. Original sound was not on for that. Thank you, Jerry. It should be. I did it. Yeah, okay. We'll keep an eye on that. Respectfully acknowledge Kumbumeri people, the Gambi language region, traditional storytellers, custodians of the land where the monastery is located. We pay our respects to their elders, past, present, and emerging, and all First Nations people whose sovereignty was never ceded. 就说我们恭敬地承认与冈北语族的库布马里人是我们寺院所在地的传统叙事者和守护人。我们向过去、现在和未来的长者们致敬，并且向所有从来没有放弃主权的第一民族的原住民致敬。Here we go. Bell sound wide resounds throughout 100 million worlds. The Buddha's law is heard and spread all throughout the triple world. The wondrous sounds that everywhere fill the Dharma realm with peace. May those who hear it gain the strength to follow in faith the Buddha's path. 众生传3000界内，佛法扬万亿国中，共训其法界和平，利益报他诺厚德。Yes, there we go. Okay, all right. Tomorrow I'll be doing that again, but I switched to the Pomo people because the lecture is, in theory, coming from the Ukiah Valley of Northern California. All right, glad you're here. We've got 68 people at present who joined from, let's see here, we could probably count all the provinces in China where people have come from. And Dongbei, the northeast, would win by far. Somehow, Dongbeiren are especially interested in that Flower Garland Sutra. However, probably people in California would outnumber the people in Manchuria, which is a good sign that Master Hua's mission of bringing the Dharma to North America has succeeded, planting it down. One of the beauties of this experience of lecture explaining Dharma is that we can actually forget where we're from and just say that we're all citizens of the Dharma realm. We've all got a Dharma realm passport. And at some point we can get a stamp on it that says Amitabha's Pure Land stamp, non-return visa, one-way visa. Actually, that's not true. The Avatamsaka Sutra tells us that when we're reborn in the Pure Land, it's a temporary, it's like an academy in preparation for Buddhahood, and then, as after becoming a Buddha, continuing to teach. So, how good. So we've got friends on Zoom today. We have friends tuning in on YouTube, and hello to everybody on YouTube. It's nice that you can all say hello to each other on YouTube, and if somebody is trolling, to blissfully ignore them until they go away. Also, we have a Vietnamese translation happening. So we've got 3 languages going on, and the language of coding of the internet, the language of what is it, COBOL or C++, whatever you're using. One of the joys of going to visiting Dharma Drum, Fagushan, out in their fundamental campus up in the north of Taiwan, was they have a wonderful library. And as you come in the library, because Master Sheng Yin was emphasized translation and emphasized scholars exchanging ideas on the Dharma and translations, you go in the front door at the library at Dharma Drum, and they've got the Heart Sutra in all these different languages. There's English, and there's Chinese, and there's Sanskrit, and then there's Vietnamese, and then there's C++. the code language. It's right there in the code language, all with the the tags and the. It's very wonderful to see right there. So they're acknowledging that is indeed probably one of the more important languages. So we are making use of that to communicate via the internet. I'm sitting here in the Gold Coast of Queensland, Gold Coast Dharma Realm, and we have volunteers who are sitting here with us translating into Chinese, into Mandarin. So people who prefer Mandarin, including we have our nuns here in the Buddha Hall who are listening on a headphone to the Mandarin translation while I speak English. How wonderful is that? We have volunteers in the Bay Area of San Francisco translating into Vietnamese so that my words can go further. And what an honor to be the if we switch metaphors, I'm a camera lens so that whatever light is being generated from the sutra through the lens can go out and render sharp images no matter who looks at the photograph. Speaking of which, if you all, I don't know if you all can see, it's kind of small, but we have a lotus flower on my desktop, and right underneath the lotus, if you all can see my cursor there, we have a spider who is enjoying the sunset on our lotus pond. The afternoon sun is setting when this photo is taken, but he's happily there hoping for dinner underneath the lotus flower. So we're at the last weeks of the summer here in Queensland, and the lotuses are pretty much, there's lots of dried lotus pods now from the lotuses that have bloomed and made glorious color. I'd like to encourage folks, if you have any questions about the Dharma or about the Sutra, type them in. If you look in the chat box here on Zoom, there's instructions for doing that. And our hardworking volunteers will take those questions and edit them from whatever language they originate into the other language and post them, and then we'll save time and answer. Okay. What's going on in our pilgrimage? Sudhana is just now finishing up his Dharma request. He's been having a conversation with his next teacher, whose name is Mega, Lord Mega, Biche Darin. And Mega is, there's a commentary, Master Hua's commentary says that Mega used to be called the Great Physician. So we're not quite sure what Mega does. He's sitting on a seat in the center of town, and there's a crowd around him. And he's speaking Dharma for them when Sudhana shows up and asks his question and his numerous questions. And we're at the last of those. Put that aside for now. Here we are. Okay. So he says, Sudhana says, I made the Bodhi resolve, but I want to know how bodhisattvas do these things. This is what he's asking. Okay? All right. Palms together if you'd like to join me. Feel free to do so if you care to. We'll read together. Here we go. Yun he de zheng nian li yi chi yi qie chi bie fa luan yun he de jing qu li yu yi qie qu pu yan zhu fa yun he de zhi hui li yu yi qie fa xi neng jue ding fen bie qi yi. Got it. Ready? He says, I want to know how bodhisattvas attain the power of right mindfulness and remember all the various Dharma wheels. How they attain the power to purify the paths of rebirth and to speak the Dharma within them. How they attain the power of wisdom and are able to clearly distinguish the meanings of the Dharma. Okay. This is what he wants to know. This young man is traveling around from teacher to teacher, and boy, he gets a major lesson from each one And then it's up to him to see how much he can remember. That's what he wants to do. Because why? He's been inspired by Manjushri to get the Dharma and become a bodhisattva himself. And he knows that as he grows in the bodhisattva path, he's got to come up with answers. People are going to come to him with all kinds of questions, all kinds of problems and troubles, and good news as well. But mostly it's people who need some sort of help. And he's in training. He's learning. If he's going to be a great doctor, he's learning this medicine right now. If he's going to be a great scholar, he's getting his languages and resources right now. If he's going to be a great carpenter, he's getting the experience as an apprentice in how to use that T-square and hammer and saw, measure twice and cut once. That's what he's doing now. He's in training. So these are his questions, and he is still a beginner. He's got 53 teachers to go to, and he's on number 5, number 4, number 5, depending on how you count. And so as he digests what he learned, this is what came to mind. How do I get right mindfulness and remember the various Dharma wheels? Okay, right away you think, well, there's more than one? Is the Dharma vehicle a 4-wheel, or is it an 8-wheel, or is it a bicycle, a two wheels? How many wheels on the Dharma car, the Dharma vehicle? Is that what kind of wheels this is? So the question arises, what's the deal with Dharma wheel? Dharma wheel, if I'll show you right now. We'll step away here, go up to Safari. If you go out and let's say type in Buddhism into, let's go to Wikipedia. Let's just do Buddhism itself. Just type in Buddhism and do a search in Google. And go to Wikipedia, watch what comes up. Wikipedia gives us a Dharma wheel for Buddhism as the symbol. Here is the symbol of Buddhism, is a Dharma wheel. You're looking at a Dharma wheel right now. So notice 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It makes it big if you go close. Look at that. And it's perfectly round. And there it is. It's got a hub and 8 spokes. So, according to Wikipedia, which is pretty much a global place, a global source, the Dharma wheel is really important. If you typed in Mahayana, what would you get? You get a lotus. You get a lotus. But Buddhism entire, all of Buddhism, takes the Dharma wheel as our fundamental identity symbol. That's how important it is. So why? What's the deal with a Dharma wheel? One is, and so I looked that up. I checked it out to see what other people said about it. And one of the interesting things that came up right away is that Dharma chakra in India was a weapon, believe it or not. What was it used for? Crushing 邪论, 邪道, crushing wrong views, non-Buddhist sects and their arguments. So it's like, oh, that sounds pretty aggressive and militaristic. I thought Buddhism was a peaceful religion. It is until you say something foolish or harmful or evil or wrong. And then suddenly Manjushri's wisdom sword slices through, and you get the lion's roar, right? 狮子吼无畏说，百兽问世皆闹裂，向上温波是却为天龙地听生心悦。 There it is, the Dharma, the lion's roar, an awesome, noble sound. All the beasts and baddies tremble on the ground. This is from the Song of Enlightenment. So the lion's roar, Manjushri sword, these are not wimpy. They're not, whatever, dude. These are strong and fierce, and the wheel crushes opponents, crushes the heads of the demons and the wrong views. That's the answer I got when I asked the question, what's the Dharma wheel? Whoa, that's pretty strong medicine. So the idea is a wheel is a symbol of teaching that rolls without stopping. It doesn't retreat. It's the 不退法轮, 不退转. And where I think it's a little, I have to say it's a little mysterious. Why the wheel? Why not something natural? Well, the Mahayana has a lotus. So it has to do, I believe, with part of India's religious culture. Mother India, which is the source of so many of the world's faiths and systems of spirituality, is a place where many systems contend. Lots of fighting among religions, lots of competition. And the main vehicle for competition was debate. Really true that if in India you found out whose religion was the best one by face-to-face, give me your principle, and I will refute it and show the supremacy of my principle. How do we know this is the case? Master Xuanzang. Tomorrow night, I'll be explaining the 10 Transferences chapter, followed by some of his biography. Every week we progress in the biography of Master Xuanzang. He is who? He is a Tang Dynasty monk who went to India to find complete and correct sutras, because he was afraid Buddhism had been in China when he was born for about 5 centuries, and the teachings were partial and sometimes just wrong. People had watered them down, or Taoists in their opposition to them had, corrupted the teachings. So he said, I can't stand it. We need the right Dharma, complete sutras and commentaries. So he traveled to India on a 7-year journey, found them, managed to learn Sanskrit, carried them back and translated them. And he was such an extraordinary monk and strong pilgrim and traveler and diplomat and translator that when he got to India, after spending time at Nalanda University and becoming the disciple of Nalanda's senior elder teacher who was ready to die, he'd pretty much done it. He had illnesses and things. And then a month before Master Xuanzang showed up, the teacher had a dream. And bodhisattvas came to him in his dream and said, don't die yet, your student is about to arrive. And he was now in his late 80s and pretty much ready to quit. But when Master Xuanzang showed up from China, the Indian revered elder at Nalanda University said, finally, in my last years, my teacher has showed up. So, dramatic encounter. After graduating from Nalanda, learning Sanskrit, absorbing all the teachings that he could, something happened. 2 kings, Shiladitya and forget the name of the second king, had decided that they were going to make the most of this remarkable monk, and they advertised, whoever writes an essay explaining the Dharma, please submit it. We will judge them and see who's got the best essay. Master Xuanzang wrote an essay called Refuting Wrong Views, 破邪论, and they gave it to the kings, and the kings were so thrilled by this. These kings had deep insight into the Dharma, and they were great Dharma protectors. They said, anybody is welcome to submit an essay that can refute Master Xuanzang's teaching. So, furthermore, Master Xuanzang said, okay, good, I'm glad you like what I wrote, what I said. If anybody can refute a single line of what I wrote, I will cut my head off. You can cut my head off, he said. So it's like, whoa, right in your face, debate masters. See if you can't come and refute it. So 49 days passed, and the essay was taped up to the posts of the debate field, the stadium where the debate was going to happen. Nobody could refute a single. And these are the best debaters in India. All the different side groups, the various schools, the Sautrantikas and the Abhidharmists and the Sarvastivadins and all the different groups and teachers who had thousands of followers, didn't dare. They didn't dare say a single word. So at the end of this process, the two kings, who were the major powers in India, said, the Chinese monk has the right Dharma eye. We announce he is the debate master of all of India. And they said, we want to put you on this, our most beautiful, most magnificent elephant, and we'll parade you around the entire grounds where all the other religions were sitting. Master Xuanzang said, I'm a monk, I don't sit on high elephants. Take my precept sash, put that on the elephant, right? So they did. They took his jasha, what a humble, wonderful representative of the Dharma. He didn't want himself to be honored, he wanted the Dharma to be honored. So they put the precept sash on the elephant walked around. And then he returned to China at great cost to his health and all. And you think, this is somebody special who we should know more about. And sadly, when you mention the name Xuanzang, if people know anything about it, they go, oh yeah, Sanzang, Journey to the West, monkey, right? The Monkey King. Close, but not the right one. The real Master Xuanzang was the source that the Ming Dynasty novelist Wu Chang'an used to write his novel called Monkey, Xi You Ji. So it's how legend and reality kind of interweave here. But indeed, here was somebody who attained the power of right mindfulness and remembered all the various Dharma wheels. Master Xuanzang was the Dharma, turned the wheel of the right, the Zheng Fa Lun, the right Dharma, which just crushed, that is to say, showed how all the other theories that these various religions put up were attached or limited or partial or leading to a self. They didn't get to emptiness and then empty out emptiness, which is the power of the Zhong Dao, the Zhong Lun, right? So now, mind you, as we go deeper into Master Xuanzang's story, he personally had a deep relationship with Mila Pusa, with Maitreya Bodhisattva. Maitreya was the one that Master Xuanzang admired the most, and his teachings were found in the Yogacara Bhumi Shastra, Yuche Shirdi Lun. That's the one that he said had the right stuff. And as the story, we tell these wonderful stories about him at the end of our lecture on every Sunday night at CTDB, Monday noon here in Australia. And he, at one point, he was surrounded by bandits. Bandits ambushed his entire gathering, his entire traveling team, and they were about to sacrifice Master Shenzong to their goddess, the Durga. This Durga was Kali, which is definitely a dark episode in the biography of Master Shenzong. So there he was, sitting on a heap of ground that had been purified and ready to sacrifice to the Durga. And Master Shenzong said, before you kill me, before you cut my head off or burn me, whatever you're going to do, he says, I want to go, give me a minute, because I want to make my peace with Maitreya Bodhisattva. So he entered samadhi on this, in this sacrificial ground, and as he tells the story, he traveled up to the Tushita heaven and had an interview with Maitreya Bodhisattva, who was there waiting to become Maitreya Buddha on his way down. And so Maitreya said, oh, you're not done. No, don't worry. He's going back. Back on to give I'll do a spoiler for the story. Back on the ground, where everybody was waiting for him to stop praying so they could kill him, this black clouds gathered from all directions, and this huge cyclone of wind blew up and started to pick up all the dust and blow the trees down. And all the bandits who were there waiting to make their sacrifice cowered on the ground and said, people in Master Shenzong's party said, you messed with the wrong monk. We told you, you didn't listen. So this cyclone just blew everybody to pieces, and they all knelt down and said, okay, we give up. Can we take refuge with you? We'd rather bow to you than the Durga. So that's this episode. And he opened his eyes and said, oh, yeah, oh, what's that? Okay, is it time? You want to kill me? Here, right here. And they said, no, we'd rather take refuge with you. So he gave them the 3 refuges and the 5 precepts, but they had to throw away their swords into the river where their boat was. So this is, if you can attain the power of right mindfulness and remember all the various Dharma wheels turn and crush the crooked and the false and the deviant. That's what wheels do. The other thing about wheels is, in order to turn, they have to be equidistant, completely, perfectly impartial and balanced. That's how they roll. Otherwise, they go kerlunk, kerlunk, kerlunk. If you ever had a bike wheel that the spokes were uneven, you know how that works. So, interesting how wheels became the symbol for Buddhism. We are going to find out more about Dharma wheels, particularly the wheel of syllables, the Zi Lun, which is our Lord Mega's particular Dharma door. That's coming up in this chapter. Okay. Number 2 was Yun He De Jing Qu Li Yu Yi Qie Qu Pu Yan Zhu Fa. How do you get the power to purify the paths of rebirth and to speak the Dharma within them? So what is the paths of rebirth? That means the hells, the ghosts, the animals are the 3 evil destinies. Ben and I, on our way over here today, just had an experience, quite wonderful. A kookaburra landed on the railing in front of us, and this particular kookaburra, he looks very normal-looking bird, and people who don't slow down or have the opportunity to live close to birds, particularly Australian bird families, miss this entire story. But this bird, you think, oh, it's kookaburra. I know what that bird is. In fact, inside those feathers, this is a father. The dads take charge of the feeding. He's a father, and he is a teacher. He's got 2 children, one male and one female, that are not quite ready to graduate from bird school. They're not entirely independent yet, but they're at that point. So they can fly. They're as big as the father. In fact, these 2 children, these 2 chicks, look larger than the dad somehow, but they haven't got all of their various bird programs inside have not yet come online, so, such as feeding themselves. They're relying on the dad to take food from his beak and put it in their beaks. One of them, the boy of the two siblings, is able, if he sees food, he can reach down and pick it up with his beak. His sister doesn't even have that skill. She's waiting for dad to feed her. And in a couple months, all of these programs are going to fire up and she'll be able to feed herself. But now, even though they're big, they're noisy, they can fly just fine, they're dependent on the father. So all of these skills are in this fluffy bird's body. He just looks like a bird to people, but when he landed on the railing, his eyes were fixed on me, on my hands in particular, because he sees me feed him mock meat, veggie ham, and he takes it and he gives it to the baby. So we came out today, and it was time to come over to give the lecture, but there he was. And we saw one of his kids on the tree branch overhead waiting for dad. So I knew that I had some veggie ham that I had warmed up earlier in the morning. I brought it out to defrost, and it was ready to go. And I had just enough, and we had just enough time. So I came out, and I took a big piece, and as soon as I showed it, the two Currawongs, who have just given their two children complete graduation from bird school. These two Currawong parents, I've been helping them go through their raising of children, and the kids have flown away now. So the two parents, empty nest. The phrase empty nesters came from this experience of these two male and female, husband and wife, Currawongs. They look like crows. They're large black birds. And they've been so busy exhausting themselves feeding their two kids. And now you can just see in their lives, they're like, where'd they all go? What's happening? And their feathers are growing back where the kids peck the feathers off the parents and all. So anyway, they showed up, and now I've got 3 large birds and only a certain amount of ham. So I took the biggest piece and I set it on the railing next to the kookaburra, and he speared it and looked up at me and went, which is, will you still be here after I fly away and give this to my kid? Don't go away, please. I understood that. And I said, go ahead, I'll be here, I got some more left. He turned around, flew off, and trained his kid, the boy, who was there making noise, saying, well, feed me, feed me. The dad said, not yet. Turned to the right. Not yet. Turned to the left. And the kid is like, I'm hungry, I'm hungry. The dad says, yeah, but you have things to learn yet, so just be patient. Don't be so greedy, right? We're watching this drama as the dad teases his child into learning patience, not to expect gratification. Astonishing to watch. The father, just a bird, right? No, he's a teacher, he's a father, he deeply cares about his kids, and he's training them how to be birds. And so then at some point he leans over and puts it in the beak of and then he turns around, zoom, plop, on the rail in front of us. Kirk, you got more? So this is purifying the paths of rebirth. These are birds. They're in the realm of animals. And yet to see this incredible relationship happening between, generations of birds. Okay, yesterday, the deal was that what was exciting yesterday was that the dad, in his wisdom, gave it to the baby, but not entirely. He held on to it. I was watching this particular interaction, which I'm going to share with you all in a minute here. Just to see the paths of rebirth, my goodness. Okay, we'll turn this off here. All right. Are you ready to see how this works? In this case, the dad held the veggie ham in his beak. The baby grabbed it. The dad didn't let go of it. He was diligently teaching this kid something amazing. Here we go. The dad is, I'm sorry, the dad is on the right, the baby's on the left. Here we go. You're hearing the baby say, "Give it to me." The dad goes, "Okay, one more." The baby goes, "How dare you?" What just happened, right? So this is we're looking at, why am I showing you Kukara movie? It's because here we are. Sudhana is learning. He wants to know how to get into the realm of the hells, like Earth-Store Bodhisattva, the realm of ghosts, like Earth-Store Bodhisattva, like Guanyin Bodhisattva, and the realm of animals, to purify. The Chinese character here is Jing, to purify. It doesn't mean with a scrub brush and ivory soap. It means to, from the Buddhist perspective, what's dirty is greed, anger, and delusion, and pride, and doubt. Because what makes an animal, the animal starts out with the same amount of Buddha nature as anyone, but accumulated greed, anger, and delusion, those poisons, get in and cover the nature. So if Sudhana learns how from his teacher Mega, he hopes, he can go help those birds discover the joy of giving, of generosity, so that their coating of delusion can be less. So, and yet, when you get in there and look closely at these animals, filiality, education, giving, selflessness, all of these are on display as the father teaches the baby how to feed himself. Just amazing. And how once you're there, he wants to know how to speak the Dharma for those animals. So I'm hoping that the kookaburra will learn to say Amitabha at some point, but maybe not. Maybe he's already saying it in bird language. Who knows? Okay, then how does he attain the power of wisdom and clearly distinguish the meanings of the Dharma? Right? How do you clearly distinguish the meanings of the Dharma? Since we're, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, let's see here. Do I have another episode in the... Hold on. Right, I do. Okay. Since this is my chance to show you these, I won't, if people are bored by bird stories, this is my chance to share them. Let's see, here we go. And then I won't trouble you again. Here we go. I need to bring up AirDrop. There we go. All right. All right. All right, here we are, one more time. There's the dad. Let me narrate. So you're going to see the father with the ham in his beak, and the baby, this is the male, his child, is beside him, and he gets, he gets his wish a little sooner this time. The lesson isn't as intense this time. There's the baby. Dad. Mission accomplished. Look at that one more time. Okay, Dad got it. He's teaching the kid. Satisfied for a moment. Soon to be hungry again. All right. So priceless stuff, just to be able to say, my goodness, kookaburras turn out are the babies don't always fly away. Sometimes they create a larger family unit. So there can be uncles and aunts who don't pair up, but they stay together with their siblings. So there can be units that form a territory. And that's why twice a day here in Australia, you can hear the kookaburras just before sunrise and just after sunset. You can hear multiple voices. That's a whole family unit of father, mother, maybe aunts and uncles, and maybe the kids learning how to be kookaburras. So, all right. Now, the next thing that happens in our story is something quite amazing, which is this particular gesture that happens next resonates throughout other Buddhist stories because it's so rare. The teacher bows to the student. Okay, let's read along here. Got it? Ready? 尔时弥切告善财言，善男子，如已发阿耨多罗三藐三菩提心也。善财言为：我已先发阿耨多罗三藐三菩提心。At that time, Megha said to Sudhana, Good man, have you already brought forth the resolve for Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi? Sudhana replied, Yes, indeed, I have already brought forth the resolve for Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi. Okay, let's identify this and move ahead. This is the hinge of all of these encounters. This is the turning point from which flows all of Sudhana's lessons. The teachers, one by one, all ask him, Good man, they say, have you made the Bodhi resolve? People identify Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi, right? What is that? That's a long Sanskrit word. It's Wu Shang Zheng Deng Zheng Jue in Chinese. It is unsurpassed, right, impartial Sambodhi, correct awakening. That's the name. So here's Bodhi. Bodhi, people know the Bodhi word, awakening. Sambodhi, Zhengfa, right awakening, not a crooked or a wrong awakening. Samyak is equal, impartial, not leaning to either side. Anuttara, unsurpassed. Unsurpassed, right, equal awakening. Okay? Sudhana says, yes, I have. Manjushri told me how to do that, and I have done it. As far as he's concerned, I have made the Bodhi resolve. I've set my heart on the correct goal to become a bodhisattva. Okay? All right, are we ready? Here's the event. 弥切具极下狮子座，与善财所五体投地，善金银花无价宝珠，以及上妙岁末旃檀，无量种衣。衣服其上，服散无量种种香花，种种供具，以为供养。Then Megha suddenly descended from the lion's throne, prostrated his 5 limbs to the ground, and bowed to Sudhana. Next he scattered aloft gold and silver flowers and priceless pearls. He covered Sudhana over from above with the finest powdered sandalwood incense and a limitless variety of garments. Next, he strewed a limitless variety of fragrant flowers and other offerings. Okay, this event people talk about in Buddhist literature. Why? Megha's the teacher, Sudhana's the student, and yet their Megha is inverting the relationship. Other commentators mention that so far we had 3 monks in a row as teachers. We had Cloud of Virtue, we had Ocean Virtue, we had Wholesome Abode, just Hai Yun, De Yun, Hai Yun, Shan Zhu. All 3 of those first teachers were bhikshus. For a bhikshu and Sudhana is what? He's a young man. He's a layman. He's not ordained. He hasn't shaved his head. He's not wearing a robe. He's a pilgrim. He's a traveler. For a bhikshu to come down and bow to him would have been, from the point of view of the Dharma, somehow giving up your precepts in a funny way. There would have been a lot of questions. The commentators who talk about this say, if they had not been a monk and he had not been a layman, they all would have bowed to him too, because he made the Bodhi resolve. Megha, who is a layman, because Sudhana has made the Bodhi resolve, and Megha, who is a bodhisattva in a lay robe, recognizes, he knows Sudhana is already in the mold. He's ready to learn. He's the student you want. If you're a teacher of any kind, whatever it is, and you've got somebody like Sudhana show up, life is good, because here's somebody who will understand what you want to teach and will carry it forward, and then add their own improvements to the tradition, to the skill, to the art, to the knowledge, to the technique, to the spirit of it, right? Sudhana is the kind of student you want. And Megha knows this, so he's down on the ground bowing to Sudhana. So interesting twist to the relationship here. And as we've said over and over, the pilgrimage of Sudhana is a series of teacher-student relationships. Think about your life. What do you have that you value, that you've learned from a relationship with a teacher? Either generationally passed down, could it be talent, skills in the kitchen from watching mom, watching dad? Could it be an ability to know when the engine is tuned? There are engineers, or there are mechanics who put their hands on a car, feel the engine vibrate, and know what's wrong and know what's right. I've met some. They just have mechanical gong fu. They have this psychic ability to repair internal combustion engines, even lawnmowers to, boat engines. People, I've met them who just, they go, oh, look at that. Oh, no, it's your oxygen catalyzer. That's the problem. It's gummed up. They clean off the oxygen catalyzer and all the vibrations go away, Oh, it's your solenoid. Your solenoids. They fix the solenoid. Oh, the engine's happy. I know people who treat engines like sentient beings. Engines are creatures with personalities, and they know how to make them happy. Oh boy, it's not my skill. I am a very run-of-the-mill mechanic. I can change spark plugs and adjust the carburetor on Volkswagens, but that's pretty much it. But I know people who just have that skill, right? And so when Sudhana shows up, he's going to get it. He's going to understand. Why? Why is it so? Well, he's been that way from the start. When we first met him in the Sutra, there were 500 young men who came forward, 500 young women who came forward from the City of Blessings, and he was at their head. All of the 500 young men recognized that this young guy was special. When he was born, even, he is Shancai, wholesome wealth, good and wealthy, because to celebrate his birth, wealth appeared in the house. So he's, from the very beginning, he's been this special kind of person. All right. So here he is, and Mega knows this. So he's like, I'm gonna make a point. And notice, you remember the picture? Let's find the picture here. We had it on my desktop a while back. Let's see here. Okay, Mega. Here's the image. Here he is bowing to Sudhana. He's gotten down off his seat, and he's got young people with his attendants are holding offerings to make offerings to Sudhana. Okay, this is one drawing. They are surrounded by a crowd. Mega was lecturing. He was in the center of town giving a talk. He was on a Dharma seat, on a dais. And he got down onto the ground and then bowed further at Sudhana's feet. Unusual behavior for a teacher, right? And what's he going to say next? He says, the Bodhi resolve is extremely special, extremely rare. I want all of you to understand why I'm doing this. This young man is extraordinary. He can become a Buddha in this life. He is on the right track. He is taking the right steps. And I want you all to recognize this. So I did something unusual to point this out. Okay? All righty. I'm going to see here. Dearest Venerable, can I aspire to be reborn either in Tushita or Sukhavati? Or must I select only one? Thank you. Let's see. 请问我可以期望转世到兜率天或者极乐世界，还是必须选择其中一个？ When you go on vacation, do you pick two spots? Do you have a number one and number two in case number one is full? So the answer is pick one and put your heart into it. If you say, so Sukhavati is Jilo Shurjaya, the land of utmost happiness. So the formula is Xin Yuan Xin. You have to believe that it's there. You have to say, I want to go there. And then you have to recite. You have to put in the connection so that Amitabha Buddha picks up your broadcast. So that Amitabha Buddha knows that you want to be born there. And you can't cheat your lotus flower. The theory, the practice is that every time you recite, your lotus flower in the Pure Land grows. So if you're saying, I want to be born in the Pure Land, or maybe Tushita heaven, let me see, which one looks better today? Your lotus flower is like, oh, okay, well, he is not sincere, right? So chances are, by wanting to go to two, you don't get to either one, right? So you're not a gambler. This is not a gamble. It's not a bet, and it's not luck. You don't hook it by luck. You don't get to return it if you don't like it. That's what I get from this point of view is we are trained to be shoppers, and if we don't like it, we can return it, right? So it's not the way it works here in cultivation. Pick one, put your heart into it, want to go there, and you'll make it. Okay, question. There's an elderly person living alone who's been practicing Buddhism for many years. She asks what she can do to have a peaceful, painless, and joyful transition to the Western Pure Land at the time of death. My question would be, does she actually recite? The simplest answer would be 念佛, 2 words. 念佛就可以了. That's the answer to your question. But I sense that similarly, she's normal in that there's both 信愿行, faith, vows, and practice, and there's a 4th thing here, which is doubt. She's got 信愿行疑, right? Faith, vows, practice, and doubt. That's normal. I'm not trying to laugh at them or criticize. It's just that the reason why we might fail to be reborn is because of that 4th thing. So teachers from time, the past to the present, have always said, do not doubt. In the Amitabha Sutra, Buddha says, faith is difficult. It's hard to believe in. This teaching is difficult to believe in, but we want to believe it. Believe in it because the rewards of true faith in Amitabha's vows is you get reborn there. And it's a really good place to go. So much better than anything that this world offers. So this is, I understand, it's the lady, elderly person living alone. Best thing would be to invite her to your 助念团, invite her to your 法会. At the Berkeley Monastery, everybody's favorite Dharma master, Jin Fosher, is on Saturday afternoon for years, got everybody together with their 地钟, their ground bell, 地钟, which is exactly this. This is a ground bell stand, but there would be a wooden fish right here. I don't use a wooden fish for my lectures. I do use the bell. And with a wooden fish here, you've got a fish beater in this hand and a bell beater in the other hand. And you hit the bell and you hit the fish. And everybody does it together. And they go, Amitabha, 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 like that. And you do it all together. There's 30 people in the room doing what every kindergarten child loved to do the most, which is bang on a can, bang on a drum, dunk, 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 dunk. We love to make noise. And in the Buddha Hall at Berkeley Buddhist Monastery with Jin Fosher in the center, he's giving you permission to make noise. And it's so much fun. It's Amitabha's name with a noisemaker in front of you, just like kids in kindergarten. Bonk, 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 bonk. And oh my goodness, that's bring the elderly person living alone to the local place. If you don't have one, make one. Whoever is asking this question, this is in Jilin, so there are a lot of friends in Jilin who would love to be invited, and afterwards have some bubble tea. Make some bubble tea, your favorite flavor, and have fun and laugh. Get some mantou or some baozi and bubble tea afterwards. And bit by bit, this will be the best part of every week. And the lonely elderly person can't wait for Saturday to come around so you can do it together. And her doubts about the Pure Land will disappear, guaranteed. Okay, there's a friend from South Africa. Her family believes in Christianity. Recently, her mother accepted Guanyin Bodhisattva and said she can offer incense to Guanyin. She asked whether it's possible to believe in Christianity and simultaneously chant the name of Guanyin Bodhisattva. If it is possible, where would they go at the time of death? So, we all begin in a different place, and if we began like most people do, in a religious tradition that has a divinity at the heart, has a theos, it's theocracy, right? Theistic. Theos is the Greek word for God. So if we were raised in a tradition where there is a God at the center, you have to accept. You have to say, I believe. I believe. And by saying that, you get saved. That's the theistic tradition. Certainly that's true for Protestant Christianity that I was raised in. Yes, I believe. I believe that, and the teachings come alive. And this is a good system. My mother believed in this system, and it's the standard way of that religions are practiced. Buddhism is not the same. Now, with the exception of the Pure Land that I was just talking about. But Buddhism does not require us to accept Guanyin Bodhisattva in the same way to offer incense. All we have to do is practice. We are not what's called orthodoxic. There's a Greek word, orthodoxy, means right words. You get your words right. You say it right, I believe. We are instead orthopraxic. We are not zheng yan, we are zheng xing. Orthopraxic means you practice correctly. So even if your friend in South Africa, she doesn't have to, it's her, okay, she doesn't have to say she accepts Guanyin, she believes in Guanyin. If she wants to offer incense, Guanyin will happily accept her incense. What does Guanyin really teach? She says, when you need a hand, say Namo Guan Shi Yin Pusa. And if you recite my name, I will lend a hand. That is not in contradiction. There is no contradiction within Buddhism to being a Christian, going to church, getting married in a Christian church, singing the hymns, going to the potluck on Saturday afternoon or Sunday afternoon. All of that is perfectly fine. Guanyin will not reject your incense. Guanyin still hears you when you say Namo Guan Shi Yin Pusa, right? Now, the problem comes from the Christian side. The Christians may have some questions. What are you doing with those beads? What are you doing bowing? So my suggestion is bring your Christianity to the monastery. Don't take Guanyin to the church, simply because there's no benefit from causing strife, from causing trouble in a community. You can be a good Christian and follow the teachings of Jesus Christ and be a benefit to the world without having to mention that you are also bowing to Guanyin or that you recite Guanyin's name. No problem. Our favorite Tibetan teacher, whose name we won't name him, he says, religions that say there are only one way, that's bad religion. Right? There are lots of bad religions in the world. The bad religions are the ones that limit you, that tell you there is harm to come from practicing one way or the other. Right? Now, we've just been talking about Master Xuanzang and how he became the #1 debater in all of India as a Chinese Buddhist monk, simply because his principles were deeper and gathered in the other principles. When the contest was about, actually we can bring that next week and talk about that. The contest was about, can you refute, can you disprove anything that he wrote? Nobody could. Nobody could have had a principle that said, oh, what he said isn't true, right? That's what was at stake. The principles of the Mahayana that he was explaining were so deep and broad that they gathered in all the other principles. that we're not as ultimate. Guanyin Bodhisattva doesn't fight among religions. Other religions may fight with Guanyin Bodhisattva, possibly, maybe not. Find Christian friends who say, you know what, this compassionate awakened being looks a lot like the Holy Blessed Virgin. She looks a lot like Mother Mary, Malia Shangmo. Maybe there's room for religions to get along. Where would that person go at the time of death? It depends entirely on that person. What will their state of mind be at the time of death? What will they do before they get there? That's what determines. It's not fixed. It's a living, organic process. You get to the place that you harvest the fruit of the garden you planted. You harvest the crops of the garden you planted. For me to tell you what's going to grow in advance, I have no idea. I have to ask what they're planting. Okay? So it's entirely up to you, including the questioner. I have come into contact with some poor and lonely people. May I ask, how do you help these people escape the state of suffering in the future? Besides chanting and worshiping Buddha, what else should they do now? Okay, so good question. And you said beside chanting and worshiping Buddha. If somebody is poor and lonely and you say these magic words, that may not be the medicine for the problem. And you've got the right heart here by saying, what can we do to help them escape the state of suffering in the future? Why is that the right question to ask? Because it understands cause and effect. Our blessings, what's missing if you are lonely and poor, what's missing are blessings. Fu qi. What is fullness of blessings? If you've got fu bao, blessings, you have ren yuan, people around you, and you have sufficient resources. You have enough. You're not poor. You have enough to use. So the question here is poverty. What is poverty? It's not the case that not having stuff means you're poor. Poverty is a state of mind. You can have people who are very, very wealthy. You can be the world's wealthiest man, but when people look at your heart, they realize that you are starved for love. You are starved for your own approval. You don't approve of yourself, so there's an insatiable need for approval from others. Is that wealth or is that poverty? So these quantities that you're asking about are all, it's not a fixed amount. It's a spectrum. It's a whole range of states of being. From the Buddhist point of view, you know the teaching, they say if someone has blessings only but no wisdom, then it's like what? It's like an elephant with a necklace. That's how this 好像大象笨象带璎珞, they say. So here's the elephant. The elephant is got a big animal's body, but it's got this beautiful necklace on because it has blessings, but it's still an animal. What is the opposite? If you have wisdom but no blessings, they say the arhat is holding an empty alms bowl. Nobody wants to make offerings to him. He's got wisdom to save himself from birth and death, like an arhat, but nobody makes blessings. So the Buddha is called Liang Zu Zun, person who is full of both blessings and wisdom. So poor and lonely people, what do they lack? They lack blessings. So what do they need? They need to look ahead and say, what are my chances now to create blessings so that blessings will be my harvest in the future? One thing to do, the opportunity to give is infinite. There's the famous story of the Buddha looking at the rich man who comes in the monastery with carts full of rice and oil and just all kinds of flowers and food. And he brings it all in and puts it in front of the altar. And the Buddha nods, says, very good, a lot of blessings here. And then the old lady who shuffles in, and she takes a single orange and she puts it on the altar. And the Buddha comes down and speaks Dharma for her and gives her a blessing. And the disciples say, but World Honored One, the wealthy man gave so much, and yet you ignored him. You just said, very good. And the lady, she just gave up a little one orange, and yet you came down and you paid special attention to her. Why is this? Buddha said, you don't understand the situation. For the rich person, this amounts to pretty much, compared to his fortune, he gave only a crumb, only a tiny portion. For the old lady, that orange was a week's savings, just to have that special thing that she could offer to the Buddha. For her, it was a huge sacrifice for that. She could have enjoyed it herself, but she offered it to the Buddha. So of course, her blessings are more abundant. So I wanted to encourage her to continue. So with these poor and lonely people that you've met, can you encourage them to practice giving? Of anything, just the slightest thing that they have, if they are willing to share it with others, blessings will result. Their poverty bit by bit, or their attitude towards poverty will change. That's the more important thing. To open up their hearts to the joy of giving allows things to flow in. Poverty has to do with clinging to the little bit we have for fear of losing it. And gradually, bit by bit, what we have just shrinks down. But the ability to say, open your heart, say, stuff is infinite. Everything in the world is mine. I got plenty of nothing, and nothing's plenty for me. I've got the sun, I've got the moon, I've got the stars. I'm free, right? Porgy and Bess, Gershwin. And that attitude of, I don't need anything, everything I have is going to come to me because based on what I created in the past, that is an attitude of true wealth and honor. Having no desire, that's true zhen fu gui, right? So they say, 少欲知足. If you can be content with few desires, you have incredible blessings. Now, easy to say, if your stomach's growling, you can't think about the Buddha's name. So one thing to do would be to invite the poor and lonely people to come fill their stomach at a vegetarian banquet at the monastery, and then join everybody and do some good work, do some giving, give of their time. And this joy of offering creates the opportunity for blessings to flow in, to open up our hearts to the abundance that exists and not see the world as a zero-sum. If I get it, you lose it. That's not the case. The zero-sum notion is truly not the case. Look at nature. Trees just provide shade for all of us. Their roots hold the soil and protect us from floods and landslides. They give off and they exhale carbon dioxide, and we send back carbon dioxide, what they use. The leaves transform. Photosynthesis creates all this wonderful. A tree is a home for animals and birds and insects and spirits. And so that's the way nature creates it. Nothing lives in a vacuum, right? This is a global village. We're truly in an ecosystem. And the idea that we can cut ourselves off from our relationships and prosper, make our country great again, is just ignorant. It's absolutely blind to the way nature sets things up. So people get poor and lonely from cutting themselves off. Encourage them to open up and share, bring them to the monastery, to a community, and they will, bit by bit, seeing other people chant and bow, and get happy, they might want to imitate it. But if you say, chant and bow, you'll get happy, only after their stomach is full. So, yeah, that's what they should do. Okay, I wanted, thank you for the questions. Those are really valuable questions. I wanted to share, speaking of which, if you want, in a time of difficulty and depression, doom scrolling is not the answer. Go out to Karuna News. Karuna News, responding with compassion, right? Not the coronavirus, but the Karuna virus. It is it's Karuna News, karunanews.org, karunanews.org. Good news of all kinds. The topics are, let's see here. There are various categories. Latest news, opinions on our future. There's a blog, there's just for fun. There's a photo gallery, user favorites, favorite stories. Let's see what's new. It's updated constantly. Let's see here. Airport uses social media to find 6-year owner of lost Stuffy. A stuffed rabbit found at Pittsburgh International Airport baggage claim is on its way back to its owner after a social media appeal. The airport posted a video showing employees taking the Stuffy on a tour of the hub's facilities after being found abandoned. We found a bunny in our baggage claim. We showed them lots of love. We wanted them to be warm and cuddled in their own home. Bunny belongs to a 6-year-old girl named Waylon. Her great-grandparents picked up the special Stuffy. We're so happy to reunite lost items with their owners. It's especially joyful to reunite sentimental lost items like Bunny. Now, Bunny is a teddy bear. All right, that's good news. That's happy. Street art in Singapore is helping people with dementia get around. So Singapore is a place with lots and lots of elders. A lot, because it's a safe, secure environment. And when you have elders, they can get lost with elders with dementia. A growing movement seeks to make communities more physically accessible for the more than 55 million people worldwide living with dementia. Cities like Singapore are making physical changes to help people with dementia stay engaged in their communities, adding innovative signage, public seating areas, distinctive landmarks. Mary Ann Koo of Dementia Singapore said, what we're trying to do is really make our environment, our special spaces, a lot more dementia enabling so that people with that problem can live a normal life. One way Singapore is doing that involves using street signs to help people with dementia distinguish among uniform whitewashed buildings. These 10 murals, each depicting a distinctive Singaporean food-related item, are helping residents with dementia find their way home. Let's look at the full story here. Okay. Okay, oh, Chao Si, what is that called, Sam? It's on a shish kebab, on a there's a Singaporean name for that. 叫什么? Chao Si something. 叫什么? There it is. And simple murals in Singapore help people with dementia find their way home. Let's see here. Let's find some others. Okay, here we go. Durian. So they see this big mural and they know where they are. Ah, look at that. Red and blue. This is in the airport, in a shopping mall. Very nice. Okay. So, Karuna News never fails. We've got so many incredible stories. Florida students are giving up Saturdays to learn Black history that schools won't teach. All right. So Charlene Farrington and her students and her staff gathered teenagers on Saturday to talk about South Florida's Caribbean roots, the state's dark history of lynchings, how segregation shapes the landscape still, and how grassroots activists mobilized the civil rights movement to end oppression. Public schools are no longer allowed to teach Black history in Florida, so the teachers got the students together on their own, and the students are coming to learn. Right, you can't keep a good idea or the truth down. Activists buy a prison site to rewild the land in eastern Kentucky. There was a tract of land slated for a federal penitentiary that would house 1,300. Appalachia, people are buying land that used to be used for mines and here for prisons and letting nature rebuild. What a wholesome impulse that is. Hallelujah. All right, Karuna News, highly recommended that folks go take a look. The stories are updated regularly and they definitely boost your spirit. Okay, our Dharma wheel, I want to show you. Here is the wheel of syllables that Megha, Sudhana's teacher, is teaching him from. 42 syllables, it revolves like a wheel to the right. So we're going to find out more about this as we go. This appears later on in the Avatamsaka, in teacher number 44, whose name is Gong Chao Ming, that's his teacher. His name is Arts and Crafts, that's the name of the teacher. And he explains the wheel of syllables. Here's the original before it got cleaned up. See this wheel turns to the right and over time starts to emit light as you turn it. Okay, we'll find out more about that later. We are ready to dedicate merit. Thank you all for joining. My goodness. Can we recite the mantra today? Very disturbing stories about bird flu worldwide, H5N1. We really want to try our best to keep it out of Australia as long as possible. But you're free to dedicate your merit wherever you choose. Samyak Sambuddhaya Ajata Aisaji 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 Sankati Swaha. Last chance. Namo Bhagavate Saja Vaidurya Prabharajaya Tathagataya Arahate Samyak Sambuddhaya Tadyata Saju, Mai Saju, Mai Saja, Samukate Swaha. Now I have a new, we've been bowing to the Buddha with a very old picture of the Buddha Hall at City of 10,000 Buddhas, and boy, do I have a new one. I want to show you. I invite everybody to bow to the Buddha with Shifu's picture in front. This is the way the City of 10,000 Buddhas looks today in 2025. Here we go. Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. All right, we'll see you all next week, everyone. Amitofo. Bye now. Thanks for joining.